guys, so today I'm going to show you how I made a Phonk remix to the One Piece anime OST, Luffy's Fierce Attack. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the track. It's practically played in almost every episode of One Piece as far as I can remember. It's usually that, and Overtaken, and just a bunch of other One Piece classics I'm pretty sure a huge One Piece fan can instantly think of, because it's just one of those songs that the anime puts on repeat, for a good reason, because they're good. But before we get down to the breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy these kind of videos, and make sure to check out my last One Piece breakdown talking about my Chopper remix. A big shout out to Raul Jimenez for uploading his violin MIDI file for the OST on musescore.com, because if it hadn't been for him, I couldn't have completed this remix in an acceptable amount of time. Probably close to a century I would have finished this. So what I did with the violin MIDI file was actually import it into a piano VST called Upright Piano. Now you're probably wondering again, violins aren't equal to pianos, and I say to you, you're wrong. So I tweaked some things with the MIDI file here and there, resizing the piano notes and adding my own little piano tricks in there, so that way the piano doesn't sound like it's attempting to play like a violin, unless there's a piano that exists like that, and if it does, I beg of you, send it back to the hellish dimension from whence it came. Also, since the project was operating on a BPM, or beats per minute, of 120, I made some adjustments to the MIDI file so that way it sounds relatively decent as a slower melody in comparison to the original track. On the mixer, I applied the halftime plugin to create some low octaves from the piano to fill out the lead melody. Then I added a parametric EQ2 to remove some of the lows and boost some of the mids and highs, and I added a Fruity Delay 3 and Fruity Convolver to help me achieve that presence the piano deserved in the beat. Here's how the piano sounds in comparison to the melody of the original. I also did a much looser version of the OST using some synth bells from Citrus, which is only available on FL Studio, and some pan flutes from Omnisphere. And all of this was to create a break section to bring something new and fresh before coming back to the main instrumentation of the remix. Here's what I made with the bells. Here's what I made with the flute. I used Omnisphere to create these sweeping pads in the background of the piano to bring a more atmospheric vibe to the beat. The plan for this beat was to have it sound very Phonk wave, meaning very atmospheric, and something you would hear from Lost Century stuff. I would say this beat falls within that realm thanks to these pads. I also added this cool guitar sample. I thought this electric guitar sample would fit with what I was going for with this beat. It's very warped. It's got those sharp tones piercing through the piano and pads. It just adds a nice layer of vibes in the remix. Here's the kick sample I used. Here's the patterns I made using the kick sample. Here's the snare sample I used. Here's the snare patterns I made using the snare sample. Here's the hi-hat sample I used. Here are the hi-hat patterns. For the 808s, I used this sample. Nothing too complicated, I pretty much used the same pattern throughout the entire beat, with the exception of the 808s on the break section with the flutes and bells, and the bridge section where I arranged the 808s so they play whenever a kick plays. Here's some 808 patterns. Here's some loops I added. They're pretty much there to enhance the snares and hats, and I used this loop to go along with the snare since it has some of its own, but with some reverb added in, which in conjunction with the snare patterns I made sound pretty dope. I used this hat loop because it has this really cool phasing effect, which is that weird filtering effect you can hear. I don't know the textbook definition of it, but it's just one of those sounds you hear often in funk music that just helps the beat sound funk, so there you go. For the vocals, I used an acapella from Gunna's song Alotta Cake, which was perfect for the BPM I was working with, the same 120 BPM, and I pretty much cut some mids and boosted some of the highs and stuff just to get that funk quality sound going on, and I also added in a fruity delay and a fruity limiter to sidechain to the kicks. So with that being said, that's all I gotta say for this remix. I don't typically recreate or rearrange the original source material I base my remixes off, so it's a very nice rare treat to do these kind of remixes, and you can check out the full remix on my SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Links are in the description box below and probably somewhere in the comments as well, pinned. And check out more breakdowns of my Phonk remixes if you enjoyed this, and I'll leave this video off on an interesting fact about One Piece since it was fun doing that on my Bleach breakdown last time. Hey y'all, future me. I was gonna make a joke about how Kaido was gonna get back up in 1051. That didn't happen. So here's a minute of the remix discussed in this video, and I hope y'all enjoy.